Hi, welcome to my second tutorial on how to digitize in JOSM environment. In this video, we'll specifically focus on how to identify and map a waterway and residential area as polygon. So going back to JOSM environments, and as you can see on the screen, you will see this blue line that's been mapped out by previous mapper, and so that's what we consider typically a water stream. So for those who are not familiar with it, the look that we can try to turn off the data layer so you can get a closer look. So as you can see, waterway usually followed by a lot of green plants and trees, and you can also, if you look closer, you can see the water, sorry, not the water, the green kind of thickened lines that's going across, and that can be differentiated from the land they're surrounding in color. And sometimes people may be confused by the color for road and for water stream, and to me water stream just always have that darker green color as opposed to brown or gray for the road. So that's one way you can help you recognize it. And so basically the way you digitize waterway would be very similar to when you digitize a road. You just basically do the same thing, click on the draw notes, and then say let me continue to do this string as you can see on the screen. So you just kind of trace it, and you can see that there's a darker green color right here, and that's probably where the water stream, how that is reflected under this satellite. So just kind of trace it as best as you can. And for the time being, I'm just gonna stop right here. So as you can see now, just digitize these sections and make sure that on the tag, let's say, let me select it. Make sure that it is tagged as waterways. And remember from the last tutorial videos, you can always do add, and if you type in waterway, and you can put a value, in this case it would be string on here. So since this one already is tagged, so you don't have to do that, but you basically go through the same thing as how you would digitize the road. So and one thing I would also like to add, like I said in the previous video, the source. So actually this one is not digital globe, it's being for the satellite imagery. So yeah, and that goes to our next task, which is to identify and map out the residential area. So this has relatively relatively easier because I'm sure if you zoom in close enough, you'll be able to see a lot of houses and grid-like streets, and those are all very obvious indication for residential area. So the problem now is, how do we create a polygon instead of the polyline? So let me go to this area where you can see streets and houses. So the way you will create polygon is very similar to polyline. So you're basically creating a loop. So again, you click on draw nodes, and then you just try to trace down the extent of the residential area. It doesn't have to be accurate, just give it approximate shot. And then make sure to come back to the original point. And now you have created a polygon. So the next thing is very important. So what's really make it a polygon is you type in land use area. When you type in land use, and then you put residential and click OK, and then you see the whole area get highlighted, and that's when you know that okay, it's been successfully tagged as a residential area as a polygon. And then you always add a source, Bing. Okay. Now I want to spend a little bit more time talking about level digitization for each features. And to me, this question really depends on the role classes. So for primary, secondary, tertiary, and unclassified roads, we like the level digitization to be thorough. And the reason for that is most of the time when people analyze road network, they're actually looking at the physical access to various resources for various populations. And so that brings out two very important points. First, the primary, secondary, tertiary, and unclassified roads, they're the roads that actually connect to major population centers. So with that, also looking at the scale of the study area. So for Kigoma, it's the area is quite large. So that's why the roads that actually connects through long distance to various populations will become very important. And the primary, secondary, tertiary, unclassified roads actually are those other roads that fit into this kind of characteristics. So it is essential to develop a very thorough network in order to produce accurate estimations for any physical access assessment. And other than that, for track and path, I would say that we should digitize them enough to navigate to the farmlands that's nearby the surrounding of the population centers. And the reason for that is there are also people living in the farmland, in the outskirts of the population centers. So again, going back to the importance of connecting populations to populations through roads, it's really important that you have all the venues that you need to navigate you to where the population locates. So in the case of Kigoma, or a lot of different areas, like farmlands actually can be potentially where people would reside. So that's why it's important to develop enough network for it. And for residential area, we would suggest you to digitize enough to cover the area. So all the tiny teeny roads, you don't necessarily have to include all of them, but just make sure that the roads that you digitize are enough to cover the area. So if we take a look at the this area, as you can see, not all the roads are being digitized, but again, like the existing residential roads actually give you a pretty good idea on how large this area residential area is. So that's kind of the point that we're trying to get to, is that you digitize enough to cover the area, although it does not require you to digitize all the roads that you can find in the area. So thank you very much for watching my tutorial video, and I hope you find this helpful.